All right. Okay. There is a YouTuber by the name of EuphoricImpact that has given me a throwdown challenge to get in front of a camera and address this recent video that I have mirrored to my channel. I think the title of it was White Women Against White Genocide by another YouTuber called White Rabbit. So it's not very difficult, and it doesn't take a lot of courage to get in front of the camera and to say the truth and to express my opinions. And so I'm going to take him up on his challenge. I'm going to just go through the points. I documented 16 points they made in that video. I wrote them all down. I'm going to read them back to you and just share my opinion. It's not a very difficult thing to do. And the reason I uploaded that video and mirrored it is because I agree with that video. I agree with the points they made. And if I understand EuphoricImpact's properly, he's a Ayn Rand, educated, sophisticated, black military man who's well-traveled throughout the world. And he's just very riled up about the fact that I mirrored that video to my channel. But nonetheless, I did, and I agree with it. And here's the points that were made in that video. And here's me expressing those points and sharing my opinion. Here goes. Point number 1. Nobody says that black or Asian neighborhoods need more diversity. That's absolutely true. Never in my life has anyone ever expressed, or have I even heard of anybody express that that neighborhood is too Asian or that neighborhood is too black and that they need more diversity in that black neighborhood. Never heard it. Never heard it, not one time. Have you guys? Am I out to lunch on that? The second point they made, white neighborhoods and only white neighborhoods are said to need more diversity. That's exactly been my experience growing up in this world and experiencing this world. When you have a white neighborhood and it's full of mostly or predominantly white people, there is concerns that that white neighborhood needs more diversity, okay? I think that point was valid and I agree with it. Point number 3. Nobody says that black or Asian churches need more diversity. The same thing goes for churches as goes for neighborhoods. I've never heard it. I've been to several black churches and I got a lot of respect for black churches. And when I went there, nobody ever complained that there were too many black people. Okay. Matter of fact, one black preacher from the pulpit with much gusto said, "This is a black church." And nobody blinked an eye. And I didn't even think what he said was wrong. Matter of fact, I was kind of admiring the fact that a black man stood in a black church and said, "This is a black church." But the reason I bring that up is you will never hear a white preacher from a white church say, "This is a white church." You know why? Because black people can get away with more political incorrectness than white people can. It's just a fact. Let me say that again. Black people can get away with more political incorrectness than white people can. And that's why you'll never hear a white preacher say, "This is a white church," but you will hear that in a black church. I've heard it firsthand. Okay. Point number 4. Black and Asian pride are seen as good and healthy and normal. That was one of the points that was made by those women. Black and Asian pride are seen as good and healthy. That's absolutely true. If a black man says, "I'm proud to be black, I'm proud of my heritage," if an Asian person says, "I'm proud of the Asian heritage," nobody has a problem with that. Nobody says anything. That's like, "Hey, that's great. I'm glad that you're proud of your African heritage, and I'm glad you're proud of your Asian heritage." But if a white man was to say, "I'm proud of my Caucasian heritage, and I'm proud to be white," man, you are all of a sudden classified as a Nazi who wants to kill 6 million Jews, just like they said in that video. That's absolutely been my experience in this world. So I agree with that point as well. If you show any white pride whatsoever, you're going to have a bunch of angry people come over, just like EuphoricImpact came over, and he's upset. He is upset that white people would express racial pride. So I do agree with that point. You know, there's a saying that's what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Okay, let's move on. Okay, number 6. If a black or Asian man wants to date and marry inside his own race, that is acceptable. Of course, when the women said it, they said it from a woman's perspective. But if a black man said, hey, I'm just looking for a soul sister, I don't want to mess with no Asian woman, I don't want to mess with no uppity white woman, I just want a soul sister, nobody would have a problem with that. Same thing goes for an Asian man. If an Asian man says, I'm looking to date or to marry an Asian woman, right? Because first of all, they've been trained to be a little bit, I don't know, I wouldn't want to use the word subservient, but you know, that's why a lot of white women go look for Filipino girls, right? Because they just do what they just, you know, their culture is such that they show a lot of respect to the man. The point I'm trying to make is that if a black man or a Asian man want to date or marry inside their race, that's considered completely acceptable. But if a white man was to say, I'm just looking for a white woman, I don't want to mess with no black women, and I don't want to mess with no Asian women, then that white man is considered a racist, right? It's absolutely true. The point those girls made is a true statement. Now, when it comes to interracial marriage, I could care less. I got personal friends that are interracially married. And so I don't care if people interracially marry. It's none of my dang business. I don't got no opinion about it, and it's none of my dang business. But what I will say is if a white man wants to look for a white woman, there ain't no problem with that. That's healthy and normal. And I got no... I think that's completely acceptable behavior. But if you talk to somebody in the media or anybody in modern society, oh, you can't just be looking for a white woman. That's a racist thing. You know, we got to have dating sites for all kinds of, you know, minorities. You can't have a white dating site, just like you can't have a white Miss America, just like you can't have a white. There's some other thing, the NAACP. You don't have a white version of the NAACP, do you? Okay, let's move on. Point number 8. Point number 7 was black men and Asian men dating within their race is acceptable. Point number 7 was if a white man wants to marry a white woman, that's considered racist. That's true in my experience. Point number 8. Point number 8. If black or Hispanic politicians openly admit to be working for the advancement and benefit of their people, that's considered normal. If a black politician gets up and says, I want to help the black race, and I want to help my black constituents, and I need to do something for my black constituents, then that's considered normal. Same thing goes for Hispanic. I want to help the Hispanic causes, right? But if a white person, a white politician, says, I want to use my position as a politician for the advancement and benefit of white people, they're going to be kicked out of office. They're going to be thrown out on a rail, just like David Duke. Anytime, you know, I'm not a big super duper fan of David Duke because he embraces Muslims too much. But I will say that if he wants to advance the cause of the white race, he's within his rights and it's acceptable behavior to do so. Okay? And I don't want to use David Duke as an example because I don't know a tremendous amount about the man, but he makes a lot of sense on a lot of videos I watch, I'll say that. But the point I'm trying to make is that you will not hear, and it is unacceptable in our society for a white politician to say, I want to work for the cause of the white race. You'll never hear it. You'll never hear it. You know why? Because there's a double standard. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, except when it comes to white people, because we're not allowed to be politically incorrect like minorities are, which we're going to be a minority before you know it. Okay. Point number 9. Okay, that was point number 9. White politicians cannot openly come out and say they are openly working for the advancement of the white race. You'll never hear it. You'll never hear it. Point number 10. Our schools and our education systems and our colleges, they absolutely do teach that the white people took advantage of blacks with slavery. We created America on the backs of non-whites. That's what they'll say. Matter of fact, I had a Afghanistan friend tell me one time that white people have no culture. You stole everything you have as white people, you stole from other people. And that is exactly what is taught in the American history classes of our college systems and our school systems of today. If you go to an American history class of today, you're going to learn that Americans implemented slavery and we took advantage of all the other races in America to build this country. That's what you're going to learn, and it's absolutely wrong. It's absolutely wrong, and it's a liberal bias against white people. Point number 12. Point number 11. Minorities can and do say things white people cannot say. That was a point that was made in that other video. I agree with it. Just like the example of the preacher I gave. The black preacher can say, this is a black church, and I got no problem with him saying it. But you'll never hear a white preacher say that because he can't get away with that. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, point number 12. Other races besides white people have implemented slavery, yet nobody implies that these other races have to apologize forever and be burdened with guilt forever. But you do, like, as you're growing up as a white person, oh, you got to carry around guilt for, you know, our race putting the blacks in slavery all the time. But you don't hear that about other races that implemented slavery. Okay, that is true. There is this effort to make white people carry around white guilt all the time. And I refuse to stand in that line. I don't have white guilt because I never owned any slaves. And so you're not going to put me, you're not going to put that on my back, okay? So I refuse to stand in that line. And let me say this, when I go to the tea parties, they bend over backwards to accommodate black folks. They tell stories about Rosa Parks. They tell stories about Martin Luther King Jr. All these tea parties I go to, they bend over backwards to make black people feel comfortable there. And they use Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, guaranteed. But the point is that black people can get away with saying things that white people cannot say. And I would say in my experience, white people bend over backwards to accommodate black people. Okay, number 13. They put forth this argument in the video. They said Africa for Africans, Asia for Asians, white countries for everyone. And there's some truth to that. But I don't even know if I could call America a white country anymore because we were predominantly white when this country started. But I would just say that, it's not white anymore. And so I have to deal with the reality of the country that I live in. And I would just say that I would hope that America would stay Christian, right? That's the dividing line. I would hope that we would implement Christian values and Christian morality and Christian ethics, and based upon biblical values. But, the thing is that the white people that predominantly started America have opened the borders up, and they've been very gracious, much better so than probably any other country in the world, right? And so because we've been so open, you can't even call it a white country anymore. And yet, because we've been so open, and immigrants have flooded from all over the world, now all of a sudden, it's not recognized as being a great country for having open immigration. It's recognized as the white people are still demonized. White people are still demonized even after opening up the borders, is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, number 14. There is this thought that some people say the race problem in America will be solved by flooding white countries like America with third worlders. And that's absolutely true. Some people want to solve the race problem in America by flooding this country with third worlders, people from all over the world. And I agree that's a predominant thought in modern society, and that's the thought they put forth in the video, and I agree with what they're saying. Some people want to do that. Now the last point. Nobody says that the race problem in Japan needs to be solved by sending third worlders into Japan. Do you ever hear that Japan's got too many Japanese and we need to send a lot of non-Japanese people into Japan? Nobody says that. But you do get this idea that America needs to be flooded with open immigration and just let everybody come from everywhere, and that'll solve the race problem because we won't have no more white folks being the majority anymore. And so anyway, I went through every single point in that video. I don't think I missed any point. And Euphoric Impact, you said I wouldn't do it. So I guess does that mean you're a liar now? Does that mean you're a liar? Because I did do the video and I expressed my opinion. May God bless the righteous. May He bring justice to the wicked.